What must happen before the rapture? We read the rapture cannot come before the revealing of the man of sin as the son of destruction. That's 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. This means the revealing of the son of destruction must precede the rapture. But what does son of destruction mean? Son of is an Aramaic idiom which means having the nature of. So, son of destruction means somebody has the nature of destruction. In other words, a destructive person. Long story short, son of destruction means the destroyer, the most destructive man of all time. Now, I'm saying that because today we have access to weapons of mass destruction, whereas in the past they did not have that. This government ruler will have access to nuclear bombs, and he will use them. So you can see that he will literally become the most destructive person of all time. The revealing of this destroyer must come before the rapture. In other words, he must launch the super destruction, and that will cause the departure of souls at the rapture. What kind of destruction will this be? It will be wartime destruction, military destruction, for we read that the Antichrist will, quote, make war against the Christians. That's Revelation 13:7. In other words, make war on Christian countries, the countries predominantly Christian, the leading Christian countries, like the United States and the NATO countries of Europe. Now, why do I say the leading countries? Because the purpose of this war will be to conquer the world, for we read in the same verse that he will gain power over every nation by winning this war. Every nation, doesn't that add up to the world? Logically speaking, if Russia knocks off the USA and conquers the nations of NATO, doesn't that basically add up to conquering the world? He doesn't have to go out and conquer every single country. The country without the United States, the rest of the world is basically defenseless. They're the equivalent of already being conquered. When Russia overruns Western Europe, this will fulfill 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 6 through 8, about, quote, the taking out of the restrainer by the destroyer. For the NATO alliance is the restrainer. For it's a known fact, well-known fact, that NATO was created in 1949 with one purpose only, to restrain the Soviet Union, Russia. The taking out of the restrainer in verse 7, while in verse 8 says the destroyer gets revealed as such at the same time. So we can put the two things together, which means the restrainer will be taken out by the destroyer, by the destruction that reveals him to be the destroyer. This destruction will destroy NATO. Finally, when Russia bombs the USA, That equals the sudden destruction in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3, that occurs, that is the context for the rapture. 150 million Christians in the USA will die at the time of Russian attack. The overall number of deaths will be around 200 million in America, in our big cities. But 50 million, I'm estimating 50 million are unbelievers. So we subtract 50 million from 200 million, and we're left with 150 million Christians departing the world together. And 3 nations in Europe will get bombed by Russia. That's Daniel 7, verse 8. And so we add several million to the 150 million, plus we add several million from South Korea, because North Korea may bomb South Korea when Russia bombs America. So overall, 200 million Christians, just 10% of the 2 billion Christians in this world, will be raptured. So these idiot preachers that claim that all the Christians in the world will be raptured, that's what they are, idiots. They might as well be backwoods hillbillies, country bumpkins. They're not hillbillies, but they might as well be, for all the good that their education and their intelligence has done them. When will Russian attack and the rapture take place? Well, time is short. November the 7th is just a week away. But the good news is Russia will rule the world for no longer than 5 months. Now you cannot ask for a shorter TRIB than that. Revelation 9, verse 5 and 10. It's a very short TRIB, just like Christ promised. He said in Matthew 24:22, he would shorten the TRIB. Try to get that into your heads. People that say 7 years, you have my permission to shoot them in the head. I have 2 groups of people departing the world at the rapture. Some saved and some unsaved. Now, this is confirmed by Christ in Matthew 13:47 through 49. It's the parable of the fishing net. Now, the net is cast into the sea, and fish are caught up out of their world. So the image of being caught up, the theme of being caught up, that's what makes this a parable about the rapture. Now my point is, 2 groups of fish are taken up, the good and the bad. And the good are taken by the fishermen, which represents the angels, and the bad are tossed away, that represents the fact that they don't go to heaven. I will make a transcript in the description box under this video. So please make a copy so that when EMP occurs, it won't destroy everything. In the time that's left, please go out and buy canned goods. Get a supply of water. Buy a trash can, a plastic rubber trash can. Fill it up 2/3 of the way with water. And buy batteries. They won't be destroyed by EMP. And disconnect your battery cables from your car the night before November the 7th, just in case I'm right this time. I've been wrong many times, of course. If your neighbors come by asking for food, give them some food, and I'll realize that this is an evangelistic opportunity. Show them that all this, that the nuclear attack was prophesied in the Bible, and that Christ will come and defeat the Russians in just 5 months. Why so soon? Because he's heading off a war between the Russians and the Chinese. That would be a super catastrophe, fulfilling what Christ said about no flesh being left. That's a hyperbole, but still, he heads it off for the sake of the elect. In other words, the church. The church in China and Russia have suffered enough, so Christ comes to save them from suffering anymore. Christ said, I come quickly. If he comes just 5 months after the tribulation begins, wouldn't that be quickly? That's Revelation 20, verse 3, verse 7, verse 12, verse 20.